Secular Nation. Secular Nation. Atheist Alliance of America.
Secular Nation. Atheist
Secular
Alliance
Nation.
of America.
Atheist Alliance of America.
Atheist Alliance of America. Secular Nation.
Secular Atheist Alliance. Atheist Alliance of America. Secular Nation. Secular Nation.
Atheist Alliance of America.
Of America.
Hello, and welcome to the Secular Nation podcast, brought to you by the Atheist Alliance of America. I'm your host, Tim Brannon.
And I'm your co-host, Michael X.
Well, Mike, it's been a while since we were here together doing a podcast. We did our first episode in September with Herb Silverman, and we're back here on November 16th.
Yeah, the 16th. So this month we have an interview with Dr. Sappho Aviva Flores. She's a columnist for Secular Nation magazine. And we had a pretty good back and forth with her.
Oh, that was great, yes.
Yeah, how she grew up and how she became an atheist, and also helped us understand what a seductress is.
And also the article that she wrote for the official magazine of the Atheist Alliance of America, Secular Nation.
Yeah, so she wrote about a mishap she had with a survey that appeared to be about atheists, but she felt there was an agenda buried inside.
Yeah, well, again, it's been a while. We've had an election since then.
Who was there?
Yes. And the Democrats won, which we at least tried to be an apolitical podcast, but I personally am fairly pleased with the results of that election.
Well, when you look at the fact that at least Obama met with atheist groups, I don't remember the GOP courting any infidels.
Well, hey, maybe next election.
Yeah, maybe they'll go to door or something. I hear they're pretty good at that, those Mormons.
Well, again, maybe the Republican, they'll do the atheist strategy next election.
Yeah, right, and we're the next soccer moms. Well, as I like to say, the ninny party beat the psycho party.
Yeah, and you can read into that what you will, but...
Well, one thing that happened in this election, we lost a star, our only Congressman Pete Stark. Though we traded her off for an ostensibly atheist congresswoman, Kristen Sinema. But I hear she's backpedaling on that, though she is referring to herself as bisexual.
Well, being bi and atheist, that is a bit much.
That's one too many.
Yeah.
This certainly shows where we fit on the social scale. It's just another data point.
Oh, that was an interesting point that Herb Silverman raised in his book when he was talking about I forget the name of the politician, but she ran an ad talking about how she was a Christian and all that. And even though she was a Democrat, Herb and his organization sort of pulled all support or funding from her. And she wondered why, and it's just because he asked, well, how would you feel if I ran an ad saying how I'm a straight person? Because this woman was in fact a lesbian. So she kind of got the point. And it's the idea of, at least, even when the people in our party are sort of pandering and paying lip service to the Christians in this nation, it's like, can atheists at least get a little bit of lip service?
Well, on another topic, I know lately atheists have been pretty upset for human rights reasons. Certainly a case about the abuses of religion, maybe not in this country, but in Ireland. Yeah,
well, that's a case that's just the news story that just came in was about this woman, Savita Halapanavar. She was an Indian woman living in Ireland who, she was miscarrying, and she was denied an abortion despite the fact that it more than likely would have saved her life. And so both she and the child died.
That's so horrible. It's like trying to save one life, wound up losing both.
To me, I look at this story, and what I see is, to the people out there who are pro-life, who are not in favor, and even if they do make that concession of, in the cases of the life of the mother, like, this is your preferred system at work here.
Right. Congratulations.
Because basically, even if we're going to make that concession, we're still sort of taking that decision out of the hands of the woman. Because all those cases, there's going to be some guy out there who's going to say, well, how endangered is this woman's life by this pregnancy? I mean, is it 100%? Because, maybe if there's that 1% chance, can we really take that risk? And by we, I mean us, not her. We'll take the risk for her. But, I think that sort of harkens back to what was going on in this previous election with all these rape guys who are saying, it's not legitimate rape, or, some girls rape easy, talking about forcible rape. They're they're just trying to tiptoe around the rape thing.
Right.
But the thing is, as I see it, is if you're going to make that, if you're honestly going to make that concession that abortion is acceptable in cases of endangerment to the mother, I think that should sort of make every case of abortion legal because, well, technically speaking, statistically, an abortion is much safer than it's 14 times safer than actually going through with a pregnancy naturally.
Or if you have a complication.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just based on fatalities, not on infertility, postpartum depression, stuff like that. So basically, every pregnancy has a potential risk of life or health. How can we really say that if we have the two options, like how can we as a society force a woman to pick the less safe one?
I think I see your point that for one thing, why is the state making that risk decision,
exactly.
right? That or the hospital. Mm-hmm. That to me, that's the fundamental aspect of choice is that certain moral and risk decisions should be left up to an individual, and that's part of being a free agent, a free moral agent.
I think that's sort of when we have that sort of system where we're going to say abortion is legal, but we're going to have, except for this little loophole, we're still going to have people trying to close that loophole or people trying to avoid navigating that loophole. Because, again, we're going to have politicians saying it's like, well, that's not really rape or that's not really life-threatening. And then we're going to have doctors who are going to basically, what happened in this case in Ireland is who had to make a choice between, giving this patient suitable medical care and, not potentially facing legal ramifications.
True. And then also there's the issue of, like you alluded to earlier, where do you draw the line when we talk about probabilities? If they have a 70% chance of dying or a 90% chance of dying, and then how do you ascertain that probability? Do you go to an actuary when you're deciding whether or not to save the mother and determine what the probabilities are? So when you start shaving like that, it makes the absurdity of the problem become clearer.
Yeah, because even if it is a 1% chance, well, it's much less. I'm not gonna. It's like 0.001% as opposed to 0.0001% in either case. It's still, there was a chance there, and you are forcing a person to take the riskier option.
Right. No, that's absolutely right. So after that light topic. Well, and that's why it's so important to be talking about issues like women's rights and, Dr. Flores mentions abortion and her own choices in her life.
Yeah, we do get into that in the debate. Not a debate.
It was a very friendly debate.
Very friendly indeed, yes.
So we should turn now to our interview with Dr. Flores, recorded not too long after Hurricane Sandy hit our Jersey shore, and we hope you enjoy it. We're here with Dr. Sappho Aviva Flores. You're a PhD and a contributor to the Secular Nation magazine. Would you like to tell us more about yourself and your involvement in the atheist movement?
Well, I was always the kid who was questioning. And, my mother was very religious. My father was an atheist, but my mother was very religious. And, I guess the turning point came for me when I was about 10. And she hauled me off to a Billy Graham rally. And of course, Billy Graham was inviting everyone to come down to the front and, witness to Christ and whatever. And I just thought it was the most bizarre thing that people would be going en masse to this man who I thought was kind of weird and, professing their lives to God. And I looked at my mother and I said, no, I'm not doing it. And I think it was that point that she became convinced that I was possessed by the devil. There was no hope for me. And, I guess it's been sort of a straight path ever since that, to being an atheist.
I can relate. I actually went to a Billy Graham rally when I was in high school. So it's, it can change your mind one way or the other.
Well, yeah, it certainly can. And one thing that I often ask people who are religious, I say, but have you sat down and read that text? Have you read the Bible? I mean, really read it. And that's the other thing that I did, because, again, as a kid, I was always reading, writing. And so I read the Bible, and the thing makes absolutely no sense. It's horrific, full of horrific passages to women. It's oppressive. It's bloodthirsty. You want a good example of good dictatorial brutality. The Judeo-Christian Bible is it. And so there are all those sorts of influences that conflagrated me to be where I am today.
Your article in the current issue of Secular Nation, it's called "The Hollow Heart: Jerome Baggett's Varieties of Irreligious Experience." It recounts some of the snafus you encountered when answering a survey about atheists. Can you tell me about the survey, or about Professor Baggett?
Well, when it first came out, and when the notice about the survey came out, I was interested. I really was. And, I emailed Baggett and I said, this sounds really good. Tell me more about it. And he sent me the survey, and of course, the first thing I did is I sat down and read it. And I thought, oh man, this is a loaded questionnaire. And the more I read it, the more concerned I got, the more involved I got in terms of wanting to refute it. And, I guess the question is, where is Baggett coming from? Is he an idiot, or is he some kind of, I don't know. Who is this man? And I really, there is another word coming to mind, but I don't think that's it. Actually, I think he really is, well-meaning. I really do. But I don't think that Jerome Baggett is interested in knowing about atheists. I really don't. He's interested in knowing why religion has failed atheists, and that's the difference. As an atheist, I'm not that interested in why religious people are religious. I think it offers people a certain degree of comfort. That as an atheist, I would be more likely to find in the human relationships I've fostered. But I don't care on a philosophical or cultural level that people are religious. And I think that Baggett does. It bothers him that people are atheists on that philosophical and cultural level.
So he's asking questions in order to bolster his own religion rather than to genuinely understand the perspective of atheists.
Well, I think he's very concerned about atheists. And I think as I said, I think he is really well-meaning. I mean, the guy has joined a meetup group in San Francisco of atheists and free thinkers, and he's been quite open about it. And I think he really sees himself as being some kind of enlightened missionary. And in the article, I think that's why I drew those parallels with post-colonialism and, the brigadier wearing the piss helmet going into Africa to, bring the light to the dark natives who don't know. And I really do think he has that patronizing kind of, approach. Oh, you poor little atheist. You haven't seen the light. If only you would look.
Your lives are so empty.
And meaningless, right?
just for the benefit of our viewers, is there any place that they might be able to get their hands on a copy of the survey themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. We can post the interview questions on the website. Let me well, here's some examples of what you're talking about. One of my favorite examples from this was it asks people to specify their personal beliefs about God, and here are the responses that we atheists are supposed to respond to. I have no doubt that God exists. I believe in God but have some doubts. I sometimes believe in God. I believe in a higher power or cosmic force. I don't know and there's no way to find out. I'm an atheist, or I have no opinion. And there's one answer there that they don't mention, that I disbelieve in God because I see no evidence, which I would say most atheists would respond in that manner.
Right, right, exactly. And not to mention the fact that the complete irrelevancy of the question. He may as well have been asking if I believed in the Jolly Green Giants or leprechauns. I just don't.
Well, I think leprechauns and the Jolly Green Giant are his follow-up study.
And there's a whole segment of the survey in which they sort of have a whole bunch of questions, and then you got the agree, strongly agree, disagree. But I didn't like that they didn't have like a neutral option of just no opinion or not applicable.
You probably the not applicable choice would have been good, but even the I don't know. I mean, again, it points to that idea of the piss helmet wearing, missionary. To enlighten the simpletons who have no opinion, they don't know, they don't think. Sorry, Dr. Baggett, that's insulting.
Here's another good one that overall, would you say that other people's belief in God is a good thing, a bad thing, or something you're indifferent about? And to me, that you can have mixed feelings but not be indifferent. Indifferent means I don't care. But I have mixed feelings, like, okay, if believing in God keeps you from cutting my throat, well, then I'm glad you believe in God. But otherwise, I wish you didn't.
Yeah. Exactly, yes. Yeah, that's exactly the case. And, it's what I was trying to convey before, that, philosophically and culturally, I don't care whether people have their religion. I really don't. But politically and sociologically, I care very much about people's religious beliefs because they're impacting on my life. They're impacting on, for example, my right as a woman to choose control over my own body. They're impacting on my friends, my gay friends who want to get married. That's when I start caring about religion at that level. And there was none of those questions that adequately spoke to that in Baggett's survey.
Right. I mean, to that end, there's a similar problem with the question. I think it would be a good thing if religion were to disappear from our society, and that might depend.
Well, very much so. I mean, if churches pay taxes, I think it would be great to have them in our society. But hey,
I think it's one of those loaded questions. I mean, I'm sort of posed with it, and it's almost posed in the sense of, would it be good if we just killed all the religious people, as opposed to the idea that if religion was just phased out over a period of time, where if you say it's like, it would be good if there's no religion, that somehow you're advocating genocide.
Right. Well, I do know that, I think the Washington Post reported, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that the amount of money that religious groups spend on lobbying Washington each year is in the vicinity of $390 million. And that's just a phenomenal amount of money. Phenomenal. And lobbying. For what? So that, the religious agenda can be promulgated through society and so in that sense, no, I don't want religion to be in society. But for those who find comfort in it, I think that's great. It serves the purpose for them on that level. So, like you said, there's no, it's a nuanced answer.
Yeah, maybe the problem is not just religion, but it's the belief in the supernatural or magical thinking that's the problem overall.
maybe not even magical, but just sort of dogmatic thought. I mean, because again, there's sort of dogmatic political ideology that is not inherently supernatural.
True. Yeah. Unthinking in any way.
Well, also I think Baggett's bias comes out very strongly. One of the questions when he's asking about the list of religious affiliations, and he lists on there conservative or evangelical Protestant, liberal or mainline Protestant, Roman Catholic, Jewish, other, and then, helpfully, other is defined as, Buddhist, Muslim, etc.
Yeah, that is interesting that the second largest, well, actually, yeah, the second largest religion in the world is counted, well, actually, I think the second and third largest are counted as other, and the third largest, Hinduism, that's covered under etc. But Judaism is numbered, is like the first non-Christian option.
Right.
Well, it's the only one like specifically referenced.
Right.
Which I think.
So, granted that I think we all agree that this was a pretty flawed survey, and I actually feel sorry for the people who are supposed to crunch his data, because I imagine the responses were all over the map. In fact, you can do a Google search and see people have posted some of their responses to the survey, and they're paragraphs long to some of these questions. It's as somebody who designs surveys, it's a big mess. But that leads to a bigger question, and that is, if where do we draw the line and reacting to somebody who is asking genuinely but ignorant, or is beyond help? How do we know that difference? It's not an easy question.
I think that it's very important for atheists to talk about their atheism, to talk about the issues that concern them, to speak up. And, I loved Hitchens, when he was not afraid to stand up for something, when someone was saying something ludicrous and said, that's bullshit. Can I say that?
Yeah.
And so I admired that about Hitch. And I think that we could go a long way. I even find myself, sometimes cringing when I hear people talking about religion, and they'll look at me as if I'm just accepting it, and, I go along with it, and they say to me, well, what church do you go to? I think to just bring it into everyday conversations. Actually, you know what? I don't go to church. Oh, you don't? Oh my gosh, you're a child murderer or something. And so to confront it face on. I think it's very much like what it was like for the gay community before slowly that they gained acceptance. And I think atheism will also, but it does take people to talk about it and publish articles and books about it.
One thing I've been meaning about this survey, biased or ignorant as it might be, I mean, is there any inherent harm in it, though?
In terms of, like, Baggett's survey?
Yeah.
Yes. I think there is. The reason I say that is, Jerome Baggett has posited himself as being in a position to authoritatively talk about atheism. I mean, the guy's writing a book on it, The Atheist Experience in America. He's positing himself as an expert. And this is the type of survey that he puts out here. I mean, to me, that's dangerous. Words are incredibly dangerous because they're so powerful. I mean, you only have to look at the Christian Bible to see the influence that words have had. So yeah, I think it's dangerous. Is that the question?
Yeah. Well, again, I sort of want to is it dangerous? But I mean, could you also sort of say that it is an attempt at making a step towards a dialogue, a misstep though it might be.
Oh, I don't know, Tim. I think you're being very generous there. Yeah, okay, I do concede that. Yeah, okay.
Like you were saying earlier, he may have been well-meaning, but if the way we respond is only kind of being forced into this pigeonholed thing where he can then turn around and say, aha, I know what you're made of, and be completely wrong, there's where the danger lies.
A common thread I get a lot of in, apologetic dialogue or conversations or arguments is that they will give you a series of leading questions that's basically following a script in hopes that you'll produce the answers that they're expecting you that will somehow lead you to their conclusion. I didn't really get that impression from this survey, though. I think, yes, he's asking questions. Perhaps they are the wrong questions, but I did see a genuine search for knowledge.
Well, I don't know about that. There was that one question about asking about ultimate meaning. And, if I put disagree or strongly disagree, no, I don't think there's any ultimate meaning. It's too easy to, conclude, you see life as meaningless. No, I don't. I just don't think that there's one big ultimate meaning. I think there's a lot of things that I find meaning in. I find meaning in very simple, small, everyday things. So I think that language is so slippery that I think the questions were too loaded. They were too close-ended. They were too much coming from his perspective of, why has religion failed you people?
It's funny that you mentioned that question, and I should say for listeners that one of the questions was people were supposed to ask whether they agree or disagree with this statement. I do not believe there is any ultimate meaning in life. And I actually went and rewrote the question for him, even though he probably wouldn't hear me if I did send it to him. But I rewrote it into two different questions, which I think would enrich his data. And that is, do you agree or disagree? I believe that life's meaning comes from an outside source, such as a God. And two, I believe that we have to find our own meaning in life.
There you go. See, Mike, you should have written this survey.
That's right. Well, I don't come cheap, That's the.
Perhaps we could segue into your book.
Oh yeah, great. Thank you. Yes, the book.
Okay, yeah. So you have a book out called Seductress.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Which I can't seem to say without lisping for some reason. Perhaps you could just tell us just a brief summary of the thesis of this novel and how, if at all, it relates to atheism.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's not a novel. It's a nonfiction piece. I guess some people would classify it as a self-help book, but I don't like the phrase. It's ostensibly a book for women over 40 who look at their lives and they say, is this it? And in the surveys, let's talk about surveys that we did, my co-author and I, we found that a lot. We wanted to know why there was such a high rate of depression, why there was so many marriages were ending in divorce. But that was the genesis of the book. But the book itself is very deliberate about its critique of marriage and motherhood for women and as cultural ideologies that shape women's behavior by social expectations, especially through the concept of sacrifice and subordination. And surprise, surprise, those two concepts are recurring themes in religion. And religion comes in for quite a critique in this book.
How do you feel that religion plays into the kind of plight that a woman over 40 feels?
Well, religion idealizes a woman's role. And throughout the Bible, a woman has virtue and value if she is one of two things. If she's a virgin or if she's married once to one man. Any other configuration of womanhood is inherently seen as evil, salacious, the Jezebel who's out to destroy men. And this carries on in our contemporary Western society. In terms of the ideals of marriage and motherhood, the concept of sacrifice. A woman has to put her family first, her children first. She must sacrifice for the role. We very strongly disavow that concept and say, and reclaim the word selfish. That's actually, to be selfish and to put herself first enables her to find happiness that then radiates outwards and benefits those around her. It's a very radical concept for women to consider. It's an alternative perspective to seeing the power of women's sexuality. We were very specific about calling the book Seductress because we wanted to capture that idea of seduction, of pleasure, of placing a woman's concept of herself and her sexuality as a prime, beautiful thing, especially when she had finished, her childbearing years. So it's a very positive book for women over 40. The right-wing Christian fundamentalists are going to hate it.
There's a plus.
They're not big on books to begin with, so.
Well, yeah, especially if you're trying to reclaim the word seductress in a positive sense. They're already still pissed about gay, so.
Yeah, if you could maybe just give us a quick definition of what you mean by seductress.
The seductress is not deluded into believing social myths about what role she should have and how she should behave. She knows who she is and what she wants. She is honest about her situation and what she is capable of both giving and receiving. She is secure in her own self and her sexuality and unafraid to express her desire. Reflective and assured, she is willing to love herself and knows that such self-love is not narcissism, but a means to survive and flourish. That's our seductress right there.
To continue with some of the quotes from one of the things that I thought was a point that seems to sum up things well. The seductress has no desire to engage in ownership. She holds to the belief that people are not possessions. They cannot be bought, sold, nor owned. And so that it seems like there's a strong feeling that the traditional Western concept of marriage is not natural, or it's more of a constraining thing for both men and for women.
Right, exactly. That whole concept of marriage about ownership. And I think Bryan Adams' song "Run to You," which is like a testament to infidelity. The opening lines are really relevant in this. They go, "She said her love for me would never die. That'd change if she ever found out about you and I." So love, quote, is conditional. It depends on whether or not you can behave, if you can fulfill these expectations and do what's expected of you within this, quote, contract. And for the seductress, there is no contract. It's all about establishing a relationship, sharing, finding out, fulfilling what each other needs. It's a give and take relationship.
Awareness of one's own of desires and needs and ability to take the reins as opposed to what culture expects.
Exactly. And, the seductress she's not needy. Right? She's independent. She's financially secure. She's not looking for a meal ticket. She's not looking for children. She wants to enjoy life. She wants to enjoy an extended friendship. She wants to have a lover or lovers if she so chooses. It really is redefining the concept of freedom. That thing that we're always saying people are dying for in this country. We have the greatest freedoms in the world. No, we don't. We don't. We're so restricted by religion and culture and patriarchal beliefs and falling into the social expectations of what we should be doing. We're not free at all.
How do you think that society could change in that direction so that role is more acceptable, or the concept of marriage is thought about outside of the traditional roles?
Well, I think to have the freedom to genuinely engage alternative perspectives. You know, the power of opprobrium in society is very strong. If you don't conform, you're an outcast. Any gay person can tell you that. Any person of color can tell you that. Any atheist can tell you that. It's painful to be excluded and to be excommunicated, to use a religious phrase, because you refuse to conform. So I think, one way to overcome that is to inspire this kind of conversation, to make it okay to have these kinds of thoughts, and to make it okay for people to choose something that is an alternative to the standard social script.
So to be out about it.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe the term for it is exemplars. They go forward and, talk about it, and flag bearers So it becomes normalized. We make the unfamiliar becomes familiar, and therefore when it's familiar, it's okay. Because it's not weird anymore.
So maybe we should call ourselves exemplar Americans.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I like that. We'll do that, yeah.
I think in our society right now there is a much greater acceptance of sort of alternative sexual lifestyles and things like that. And at the same time, there is also a greater and greater prevalence of people calling for abstinence and slut-shaming and all of that. I don't have a question attached to that.
That was an observation, Tim.
And that was a great observation. I think a really accurate observation too. And I think a lot of it comes from fear. And fear is such a motivator. I mean, what underscores religion but fear?
This movement of the abstinence, no birth control, no abortion crowd. I mean, are they getting more numerous or just louder?
I think they might. The side that you talked about, it might be just getting louder as groundswell moves into people thinking more liberally about social issues. I think it frightens people who are trying to cling to their conservative beliefs, and so it's a natural reaction to yell louder if you think your voice is not being heard. What I don't understand is why in the world are people interested in my womb or the wombs of other women? I mean, just mine. Mind you, if there are women who want to have 10, 15, 20 babies, wonderful. Go ahead. I don't want to join you. All the guilt trip about, if you have an abortion as a woman, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Well, stop buying into that social script of sacrifice, because it's simply not true. I have had 2 abortions, and I do not regret having them for 1 minute.
Yeah, and no one who's had a child has ever regretted it, any moment of it.
Exactly.
Good one.
Well, actually, I'm a lousy mother, right? In terms of the social role of what I should be, that you've got to sacrifice everything for the kids, you've got to give up your life, you've got to give up your, identity, because now you're mom. No. And that's a pretty radical concept for people. It doesn't sit well with a lot of people that you've got a woman who is denigrating this sanctified. I mean, look at Mother's Day. This is like a national celebration of womanhood, motherhood.
Right. I mean, the right to control one's own destiny is part of modernity, and it's amazing to me that there are still people who believe that a woman can't make her own decision. So you can trust them to parent their child, but you can't trust them to make a decision.
Of course, a child takes an immense amount of resources, financial, emotional, psychological. And for a woman who's not equipped to do that, it's just a brutal thought to me to say, no, you can't terminate your pregnancy. What? To bring in religion on top of that God doesn't want you to do that. And, if a baby comes about from rape, then that's what God wanted.
Well, let me turn the conversation to there's this one cuts home for us Jersey Shore locals.
when you'd mentioned about how people responded about the hurricane and saying, "I'll pray for you. I'll pray for support or pray for help for the people on the shore," and you did something about that.
Well, yes, I did. I just can't help myself sometimes. I got on the forum boards, a number of forums, and, I said, look, people, stop praying, because all you're really doing is making yourselves feel better. And instead, I encouraged each of them, every time you want to make a prayer, to donate instead to American Red Cross. I mean, there were two things that American Red Cross was saying it needed: blood and money. So, I got online and I donated generously to the American Red Cross because, hey, that can make a difference. I'm not going to sit at home and make myself feel better and say, you know what, hey, I'm praying for you. So I can feel good in the power of prayer. Well, the power of prayer is not going to buy you food. It's not going to buy you gas. It's not going to buy you, clothes that you might need because you haven't got anything, because it's all being washed away. Or to help the American Red Cross purchase things to actually help you. I'm just constantly amazed at those types of forums, at the people who just say it, and they say it so thoughtlessly. Oh, you're in my prayers. I'll pray for you.
It's a great way to think you've accomplished something when you've really done nothing. I really wish I had that in my life.
Plus, their prayers are a few days too late. Maybe they might as well pray for a time machine to send the hurricane back.
I'm sure plenty of people did, but see how well that worked.
I guess what was that reminds me of that Ingersoll quote, hands that help are better than lips that pray, or maybe hands that, write checks.
What I've heard was like, 2 hands working accomplish more than 1,000 claps in prayer, or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Might be just
exactly.
Well, Sappho Aviva, we'll pray for you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if Seductress gets into the hands of the right-wing conservatives, I probably will need some prayers from you, yes, thank you.
We wish you well, and we wish you success with the book, and we look forward to your next article in Secular Nation magazine. Any preliminaries for what it might be about? Have you come up with any ideas yet?
Oh, not yet, but it shouldn't take me long.
Once you just do like a full-on plug of your book, it's published by, available at.
The book is available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's in hardback, paperback. It can be downloaded to the Kindle. It is called Seductress. And I look forward to people reading and buying it.
All right.
It's a lot of fun. Well, thank you.
The Secular Nation podcast is brought to you by the Atheist Alliance of America. If you would like to become a member, you can go to our website at atheistallianceamerica.org. That's Atheist Alliance America, all one word, .org. Click on the support tab and select membership.
We'd like to thank our executive producer, Tom Melchiori. Did I pronounce that right?
I believe so. That's how I pronounce it.
I'm not Italian, so I'm really bad at that. So apologies, Tom. You can fire us if you want.